Babble with Ben.
This podcast is recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri peoples of the Kulin Nation. I wish to acknowledge them as traditional owners. I would also like to pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and Aboriginal elders of other communities who may be participating today. Welcome to the Babble, Ethan Ng.
Hello, Ben. How are you?
I'm good. Oh, you bet me to it. I was going to ask you how you are. I'm good. I've had a busy week. You and I have both performed at the same gig last Thursday, and it all of a sudden caught up with me last night. I had like 12 hours in bed, 9 p.m. till 9 a.m. So
Lovely.
How about you?
Look, it's busy for everyone, isn't it? Like, everyone asks me, how are you doing? I can only just say, like, yeah, getting through, you know.
It's that week 12 sort of feeling, isn't it? It's that mania. It's like, oh,
yeah,
wow.
everything's due.
Everything's due. Like, I'm looking at my calendar, and seriously, if there is like a 3-hour gap in there, I'm like, whoa.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing, yeah, because that way I'm just literally, I've got this new practice where in one of the courses we did, there's been this whole thing about mindless scrolling on your phone, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, yeah, there's times where I'm definitely just scrolling for the sake of scrolling. And now I've got this thing where if I need to rest, I'll be like, phone's in the other room, laying down, and all of a sudden I've napped for an hour. So, yeah, so it's good.
I mean, I guess that is better than just mindlessly scrolling. I should probably do that.
Well, that's what I thought. At first I thought it was like, oh, yeah, hang on, Grandpa, it's like, like that sounds like good advice, but whether you do it or not is another thing. But, yeah, I know I'm finding it's helping me a lot. I feel a bit more rested rather than, going and seeing, like famous people choosing their private jets or that sort of stuff. Like, and so, it was really nice to see you perform last Thursday with Envelope.
Yeah. It was kind of a thing. They founded, Charles, Rain, Isaac, Luke, as their own thing. But I think they wanted, a bit of guitar to, sort of spruce up the live sound. I always told them, if you want any guitar, I'll do it for you. And they decided to pull me on for that gig. So it was a lot of fun. I love playing with them, and the songs they've written are just fantastic. And they're, really cool to write my own parts over. And, I think sound really good.
Had you guys done a lot of rehearsing? Because it sounded very rehearsed.
Honestly, no.
No? Wow.
No, it was a bit last minute because I think I got asked after their gig when they opened for Slurm at Bar Open.
Yep.
And so that was 2 weeks before the gig with Strawberry Lipstick. And so Isaac asked me, and I think I came in the Monday, so pretty much like 2 days later on the Monday. And I just jammed on the songs. I had I think he sent through the songs like the day before. So I had
really? Yeah.
3 hours to learn. I managed to get through like half of them, but I just gradually learned a few more. And then we did a cover as well, Give Life Back to Music by Daft Punk.
Yep, you opened with that one.
That was really fun to play along to. And that one, I feel like you kind of need guitar with that one as well. It's got that sort of Nile Rodgers funk sort of thing going on.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun, and I love playing in that style as well. It's a style I kind of... I don't know, I got into it last year, that sort of whole jazz fusion thing, and it's really grown on me, and I think it's really nice to experiment with that sort of stuff, and as well just add your own flavor into it as well.
If you're not in a jazz fusion band at Box Hill, there's an argument whether you're really enrolled or not, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, I think it's kind of the culture around here. That's sort of like the main sort of, everyone's into that sort of jazz or, R&B, soul thing, whatever. And it's weird for me because I started out as like a rock guitar player,
Yep.
I loved Queen, Led Zeppelin, Metallica, Iron Maiden, all those sorts of bands. And that's kind of where my playing's rooted in a lot of sense. And I've learned a lot from those bands. And I came here, I'm like, wow, there's so much more that I could, do genre-wise.
Absolutely. Alter those fifths, alter those ninths, all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Because I have definitely sort of noticed that, there's this big jazz fusion, neo-soul sort of culture at Box Hill. And I guess that sort of blends in with the, if you're learning music theory, however many hours a week, you want to sort of exercise those chops, don't you?
Exactly. You want to, use your dominant flat 9 chords and your 13th chords as a tritone substitution or whatever, Bring out those altered scales, bring out the Lydian dominants.
I do like a good Lydian dominant and a Phrygian dominant too, actually. But
Fair enough.
It's no, it is fun. It's fun because like I remember when I was younger, perhaps I thought, oh no, I won't study music theory because it'll make me too conformist, right? You think, oh, once you start learning all that and you start following the rules, you might lose something. But in
There's
fact,
that argument where it's like, oh, Jimi Hendrix never learnt music theory. Why should you? But in a sense, Jimi Hendrix did know theory. You know,
Yeah.
he just knew where to sound. You didn't know that the Hendrix chord was an E7 sharp 9, but he knew how to use that chord.
well, that's the argument I'm making, absolutely, because like it's one thing to say, oh no, I'll be too conformist if I learn theory. All it really is putting a name on things you've already heard before.
Exactly.
Like when someone says, oh, it's a, E7, sharp 9 or an E7 flat 9. It's like, you go, oh, God, okay, I don't know what that is. But then it's like, oh, yeah, it's the chord from the start of Purple Haze. Everyone goes, oh, absolutely, I know that. And then it's like, oh, okay, so you learn, that you can use that, in a Phrygian dominant scale, there's solo over the top of that or something. And so it is nice. I've found that I've slowly sort of warmed to this idea of theory.
Yeah.
And so how far through your degree are you now? Because you're on as a performer and a guitarist, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in my second year, so finishing up my second year, and it's been a journey. It's been one of the biggest journeys of my life.
Yeah, I bet.
Meeting all these amazing people, all these amazing musicians and producers and whatnot, and being at these facilities where, you can do so much, like, do a podcast, record albums and things like that. It's wonderful. I love it.
Studio C is sort of the unloved studio here at Box Hill, but I always find really nice uses for it. Like it's great for podcasting, and I think I know that I've done some music videos here too, just in front of a green screen, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lovely Foley pit here at Studio C, and it's just perfect for shooting little videos in.
I have seen yesterday. I saw, do you know Mickey?
What?
Mickey Churinsky. She's a drummer.
Oh no, I don't.
She was recording some stuff yesterday that was for the industry project. That was 5.1.
Wow,
And it was amazing. Like the stuff you can get by like panning things like behind you and in front of you. It's unreal.
It is nice. It's a bit like being in an IMAX, isn't it? It's
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
Wow. It's always funny because like I remember when 5.1 first came out and everyone was getting really excited and sticking speakers all over the room, but I never really understood it.
Yeah.
And I think it's because a lot of people don't set up their 5.1 systems right. I think a lot of people just put them right next to the couch and away they go. But when you've got a proper system that's been set up, according to the manual, it's such a great experience, isn't it? Because I mean, with Mickey's project, what was the core of the project? Was it just drums or was it?
Well, actually, it was like guitar, piano, bass, and things like that. So I think and vocals as well. So there was some vocals that was kind of spread around, like the harmonies split across speakers, and then some more audio effects behind as well. And it was just like, and there was visuals up on that projector as well.
Oh wow, yeah.
And the whole experience, it was just like all my uni stresses just went away.
Yep, you just get absorbed into it. Hey,
Yeah.
That was for industry? Oh, so that's what the third years do, isn't it? Is that their main project?
No,
or is that something
that's
different?
the Future of Music thing.
Oh,
So that's what they did for Future of Music.
oh wow. Oh, okay. So this is because you and I are in the same group for
Yeah.
Future of Music, and we did a presentation yesterday. How did you feel about that presentation?
Went all right, I think, we did AI. Yeah, look, I think it went as well as we had hoped for it to go,
I think we did pretty well.
Yeah.
For the people at home, we are both doing a subject called the future of music, right? And the idea is to get people thinking. It's almost rhetorical, right? Like it's almost rhetorical where it's thinking, what is the music industry going to look 10 years from now? And we based our project on an app that will basically compose a song for you out of thin air every time you turn it on. And we sort of had this imagination where it's like, we could imagine that the AI is so good at constructing songs, it could imagine, the Beatles doing a Harry Styles cover, or we made the joke of, Dolly Parton singing Parkway Drive songs was another one, Bach to a hip hop beat. And so this app would be able to, read your biometrics, read your metadata and just go, okay, cool. I feel like Ethan wants to hear Daft Punk covered by, a bluegrass band or something like that. and was based on, I don't know whether have you got a streaming service like Spotify, Ethan?
I use Spotify, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Have you ever had that moment where you let Spotify recommend a song to you and you just go, wow, I've never heard of this band before, but it's really great?
Sometimes, yeah, it's kind of got to be like, I'm looking for a certain thing and I might put on, like a Discover playlist or like one of those like genre playlists, which I know a lot of people like kind of give it flack, but like, it's cool to just discover stuff. And you find something that's like, all right, this is, interesting. And then you like it and you discover more from that artist.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Because sometimes you just wonder how. I mean, I've had Spotify for a few years now, and sometimes I'm just truly astounded at how well it guesses my tastes.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of scary in a way too, because you do hear about the death of privacy and things like that, and it's like, wow, the computers are good at picking my musical taste. What are they going to pick next?
I mean, I think it's all just based on what you listen to. So if you like Snarky Puppy, you might like other jazz fusion groups like that.
Are you a big Snarky Puppy fan?
I do like Snarky Puppy. I did What About Me for my recital last semester.
Yep. How'd that go?
That's got to be one of my favorite performances I did. It was just, it was the first time I had kind of arranged for a big band.
Yeah.
So I had 9 members.
Wow. Yeah.
First time working with horn players as well. This year I've gotten really into charting for horns and just generally using MuseScore and stuff. So, I did buy a transcription, but I did just write them out again in MuseScore just to make sure everyone's part, everyone's got their distinct part, because you kind of get like all the parts collated on one score for like B flat. And an alto sax, which is an E flat. So I had to transpose that as well.
I was going to ask, yeah.
And then 2 guitars, keys, drums, bass, and percussion as well. And just arranging for, a song that's that big. And, that song has more, Snarky Puppy's usually at least like 15 members. I had to kind of condense it down just for the sake of, I don't need 15 members. Because it gets to the point as well, especially in a live setting, the more you add, diminishing returns.
Absolutely.
It's more to mix. It's less that you're actually adding. Whereas a studio performance, you can kind of mix each element. And you can see it when they do their recordings. There's like 3 drummers and they mix them very particular way for, headphones and speakers. Whereas, live, it's kind of the PA blasting at you. And, there's only so much that can do in a live setting.
I totally get you, because I have definitely been a backup singer, and I've sort of been looking at the soundy going, is my mic even on? You know what I mean? Like sometimes I think they pick their. I've gigged I've teched small little festivals, right?
Yeah.
Where there might be like a small band on stage, and we've only got 8 channels in the PA, right?
Yeah.
So that's kick, snare, bass through the DI, and then maybe like a guitar cab. And then all of a sudden you've got 4 vocalists, and it's like, oh, sorry guys, we've got 2 channels dedicated towards the iPod between the sets, right? We can put a microphone up there, it's just not going to be plugged in. So yeah, there is a little bit of that element of you've got to sort of edit these live performances, don't you?
Yeah.
And did you find that it was tricky when you had this arrangement of Snarky Puppy, right? Were there a lot of like time signature changes or key changes?
There's not really time signature changes, but there's kind of this one riff. It's all like, it's, 8th and 16th notes. It's like ba ba da ba ba da ba ba da ba. If it's in like a grouping of 5 within a bar.
There it goes. Yeah.
It's really weird. And then on top of that, the horn's just playing a simple ba 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 ba. Like it's just doing like a simple 4/4 line. I mean, so the guitars and drums are doing 4/4 as well, but it's this different sort of feel, and sort of combining that, it gets really weird. And then at the same time, it's so easily to like switch into like a sort of like a swing or like a triplet sort of feel.
Yeah.
Da, 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 sort of feel. And we had to very much make sure that we didn't do that. So it's really, rhythm's tricky. Rhythm's one thing I've had to really work on within the last few years, I feel like, starting out as a rock player, you got to learn all your solos and your actual chops before you actually learn how to play good rhythm, like funk rhythm.
Yeah. Yep.
Especially like funk rhythms, really, that you've got to just practice to a metronome,
Absolutely. And that left-hand muting as well. Like I play a little bit of funk guitar, just a little bit sort of like producer funk guitar, right? And I was finding, like the muting is really where the funk guitar comes in. It's almost like you've got to have that staccato element, hey?
Yeah, definitely.
I had a little bit of a because it is all about that feel with funk as well. Like I was doing a song for Suburbia, right? That's had some funk guitar, right? And I was going real deep down the rabbit warren, right? I went through and recorded like 4 bars, right? The chord progression, and then I went through and I actually lined up every single hit on the funk guitar, right? And I found that it just killed the life out of it. I found that it was much more interesting to just play the whole thing through, right? And keep the feel, like with the with the looseness and the feel. And so I don't know whether have you done much in the way of recording apart from
Not that much. I've recorded for like just projects, for uni assignments and stuff, and like, people's, projects and things like that. But not much recording. I find I generally just do a lot of live stuff. But when it comes to funk guitar, I find it's good to practice to a metronome and then take the metronome off once you get on stage.
Yeah.
Because you've got to have that balance between keeping it consistent and letting it flow a bit. I think it's,
exactly.
Feel is the right word because, it's that balance. You can't be out of time, but you can't be 100% in time. You've got to it's got to be human, That's something AI can't do.
That's something AI can't do, hey? Yeah, no, as we found, there were a lot of things. AI is sort of the buzzword at the moment in the music industry, right?
Yeah.
But there are so many things that it is just not ready for. What were the things that we found with our project that were...
Couldn't really do proper vocals.
Yeah, that was the big thing, wasn't it? Like, I think we ended up using some stems from another... Oh, we used some AI extracted stems. That was pretty crazy. Someone compared that to taking a cake that's been baked right and getting the sugar out of it, just the sugar, you know what I mean? Like to be able to just extract the vocals from a fully mixed track was pretty incredible. There were a couple of other... and I think we used AI to mix the track too, didn't we? But that was pretty patchy, I thought.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I like to... When I talk about computer technology, right? If you look at perhaps the graphics from Toy Story 1 versus the graphics from Toy Story 4, they change real quick.
Oh, yeah. Like a few months ago, I think I went on a bit of like, just looking through, because I have Disney Plus, and went through all the old Pixar stuff and looking at stuff that's from like 1986. And it's so primitive and like, it looks so weird, but it's kind of its own aesthetic as well. Similar to like video game graphics from like the mid 90s where it started to, actually become 3D. Yeah. And it's all blocky and stuff. It's kind of its own sort of thing. And now, all, animation just looks so polished and stuff, but it all kind of looks the same. At least for me,
I went down a very similar rabbit warren where I was looking at some of the earliest CGI, like some of the stuff from like, the 70s and the 80s, right? And that really is its own thing. Some of it I think is more charming than modern CGI, as you were saying.
Sure.
Like some of it was done on, this was even before they were using like TVs as screens, right? They were using these sort of radar, those old radar trackers you see in like, war movies, right? Where they're like a circle with a green thing on them. They were using those to plot out video games and CGI, and some of that's just wild to think of how far it's gone.
Yeah, no, definitely. Technology moves at such a fast rate. But at the same time, sometimes it's like, it's kind of gotten to the point where it's like too good. Like, the phones and stuff you've got recording, it's to the point where it's like, it's nearly as good as like an actual, DSLR type camera,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's got the internet on it.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, it's like every increment, because that's iPhone 13.
That one's, your one's an iPhone 13. This one's an iPhone 10.
Yeah. And it's like the iPhone 14 just came out, and it's like, it's better, but like by how much,
Well, I think, there's a big argument that the iPhones have sort of stagnated in a way. I mean, what do you get? You get a faster processor, maybe a better screen and a better camera, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like... what was the first? So that's not your first iPhone. Have you got iPhones?
I've got an Android.
You got an Android.
Yeah.
How many Androids have you had in your life? Do you think?
1, 2, 4.
4. So if you think about the first one as compared to this one, there's a big difference. Hey?
Oh yeah, for sure. But it's like as well. I've got like Samsung S22.
Yeah.
And that's like right now it's pretty much top of the line.
Oh, that's the flagship. Hey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about it and I'm buying that. I'm like, all right, realistically, I'm hoping this will last me 4 years.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure like a few years ago, people are upgrading like every 2 years because it just slow down after 2 years. All my other phones, at least, they slow down, within a year, 2 years.
There was a big lawsuit with Apple about that because what Apple was doing was they said, oh, yeah, we were throttling the CPU
Yeah.
because the batteries degrade over time, but they wouldn't let people know that it was because of the battery. They'd just think, oh, my phone's slowing down because of its age, right? And it's sort of funny because, like, CPUs don't wear out.
No.
What they do is they add extra bits of software to gradually slow it down. And then they do that thing with the batteries, right? Like, there's been a few people I know that have replaced the battery and they've gone, oh, all of a sudden, the phone's back to a reasonable speed again. So it's sort of funny how tech companies really put you on this treadmill, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
I find, it's really this design for the dumpster sort of thing. Like, have you ever tried to fix any of your old phones?
I tried booting him up again, see if I'd find any old photos or anything, but I think they're all pretty much dead.
Yeah.
Like, I've left them off for too long and they just won't charge and won't turn on.
Yeah, and I think that's as the manufacturer intends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I've got some AirPods, right? And it does annoy me that I know that eventually these are going to have to go in the bin because they're glued together. There's no way to replace the battery, which will inevitably fail, that's inside those AirPods. So, I don't know. There's things like, as much as I enjoy my phones, right, there's things like a good guitar, right? Like, if you look at, because you're a Strat player, yeah?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, cool. Which Strat have you got?
I've got just a Fender Player Series Strat, honestly.
Oh, is that the Mexican one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a Mexi Strat too. I love it.
But, like, they work,
They're great.
They work. They're fine.
So is this an upgrade from a previous guitar?
This was my, I'm going to uni. I should probably get myself an actual guitar. Oh, not actual guitar. I had like an Ibanez RG Super Strat before.
Yes, yep.
But it's such a rock and metal guitar.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm probably going to end up doing some different stuff in uni. And it's like, I don't know, Strat was always even before I played guitar, Strat was always what I thought of when it came to guitars, I was like, I was listening to sounds of it and I was like, Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, John Frusciante. I'm like, that's the sound,
Nile Rodgers, yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a guitar that I've loved and hated and loved and, because it's a tricky instrument. You kind of have to fight it a bit when it comes to the sound because it's thin. It's thin by design.
Yeah.
It's not like a hollow body, which will give you just this nice sort of warm sound. But you kind of have to figure out, and I do it through pedals pretty much, how to make it resonate in the right spot. If you just run it through an amp, it's lovely. But sometimes in a band setting, it's just it's not full enough,
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. But no, I still do love this Strat. I'm looking to hopefully make some upgrades to it.
Oh, what are you going to do?
Humbucker?
Humbucker?
In the bridge.
In the bridge, yeah. Classic.
Because I find usually when I'm using bridge, I'm putting on like a distorted sound or something.
Yeah.
And so, I should probably, boost that sort of sound up. But I still love the single coils in the neck and the middle position. Those are still just
Those are the
lovely.
funky coils. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Would you make the tone knob control the bridge as well? Or
Sorry?
Oh, there's a mod I thought about doing on my Strat where, because quite a lot, because when it comes to the rocky stuff, when it comes to sort of solos, right, the bridge pickup is where I tend to go to.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, same.
And you know how you've got the two tone controls, right?
Yep.
One's for the neck, one's for the middle one, right? You can rewire the tone control.
Oh,
for
mine's
the bridge
wired
one.
for the bridge.
Ah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Mine's already wired. I think it was like that. It's already wired for the bridge.
Oh, cool. Because I think the standard wiring is you've got the middle and the neck, and they have the two tone controls. But yeah, I kind of like having the tone on the bridge as well because because when you're doing those solos, sometimes I'm a sort of minimalist sort of guy.
Yeah.
Like my dream gig is if I can just plug my guitar straight into the amp and that's all I have to worry about, right? Because I have a career in tech. And I always know that the more things you have, the more likely things are to go wrong as well.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think, it's funny because you were saying, you sort of have to learn to adjust to the instrument, right? And I think that's very true. Like if you can figure out where its strengths are, right, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So you've got your Strat and you've got your Ibanez.
Yeah.
Anything else?
The Ibanez I only really use when I'm called to do like heavier stuff. Even then, I haven't changed the strings in about a year.
Ah, yep.
So it's a bit out of action at the moment. I'll probably have to set it up again. But no, the Strat's the main guitar. I might look into getting some other guitars in the future, but it's kind of where I feel at home. Is the Strat, you know?
I'm the same too. If I have to reach for one electric guitar, I will reach for the Strat just because it's so versatile and because it's so comfy to play too.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm actually trying to make mine a little less comfy.
Oh, really?
Not because I find as you play guitar more and more, you kind of want to fight the instrument a bit.
Oh, yeah.
So I've put it some
Yep.
like heavier strings, at least on the top.
Ah, what strings do you use?
I got 9 to 46 now.
9 to 46.
So I used to
what
be
were you
9 to
using
42.
before? Yeah. Ah, okay, cool. Yeah.
No, and 9 to 46, it's just got a bit more. It's a bit more solid on those, bottom strings, and it just feels nicer for doing like fingerstyle jazz stuff and things like that. It just adds a bit more warmth to it. I find the 42s are just a bit too thin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I used was it 9 to 46s?
Sorry?
Was it 9 to 46s you've upgraded to?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. I think that's the one I use now. I sort of, when I do my guitars, I do like to set them up myself like you do.
All right.
And I always like to, because I'm sort of new at it, right? I mean, I am not a full-time like guitar tech by any means. And so I'm kind of like, okay, cool. Well, I want to know what Fender actually recommends. And Fender, I think more times than often, say to use 9 to 46s.
All right.
I thought, okay, cool, I'll set those up. And it's nice. Like, it sort of just feels normal. I have used 10s in the past as well. And I had one guitar that I put in like standard C for like Queens of the Stone Age stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And that was like, I think 12 to 50 something. And so that was almost like playing with fencing wire on the guitar. You know what I mean?
I had a guitar that was set up to drop C.
Yeah.
It was like my first guitar, and once I got my Ibanez, I like repurposed that one as kind of like a drop tune because the Ibanez has like a Floyd Rose.
Oh, yep. Yeah.
And those are notoriously kind of terrible to set up.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, I'll, put this one into like a drop tuning. And I think I set that one. That was 11 to 56.
Wow.
on that one.
Yeah. So those are some fairly solid sort of strings on that one.
Yeah.
Have you got a dream guitar?
It'd probably still be a Strat shape.
Yep.
I love some of the like Sir guitars that are out there. Like Mateus Sato uses some of those. And they're very boutique Strats.
Yeah.
With sort of modern features. And that's probably like the sweet spot for me.
What have they got that you really like?
Just more modern bridge.
Yep.
Humbucker, locking tuners, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And they look lovely.
Yeah. I was thinking of putting locking tuners on my one, but I just never got around to it.
Yeah.
You've got to drill them in and all sorts of stuff, and it does seem like a good way to ruin your guitar if you don't know what you're doing.
And it does make tuning a lot more convenient because you just put the string in, tighten it, and then string up pretty much.
Some of them even cut the string for you, I saw, like auto locking, auto cutting. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
You can go crazy with it.
Yeah.
Do you play any other instruments? Like, I think you sing a little bit, don't you?
I sing a bit.
Yeah.
But I'm not very trained by any means. I'm good with harmonies. So
Yeah.
sometimes people just ask me to do like harmonies. And that's kind of what I'm known for singing wise. Otherwise, I do bass just because there's proportionally more guitarists than bassists at Box Hill.
Yep.
So you kind of have to, sometimes you're called up to do a bit of bass, which I don't mind. And then I do a bit of keys as well. That I'm trying to get better at. Mainly because I find piano is very good because it's so linear and it's so easy to understand theory on. And so it's really cool to just like experiment with like jazz chords and things like that on that. But I'm trying to get better at my actual technique. And I think piano is when I realized like, yeah, if you learn one instrument, it gets easier to learn the next one because all the theory's still there, and you just kind of have to figure out the technique part of it all. So I started out just by learning. I think the first song I learned was Hey Jude.
Oh, yes.
It's like learning that sort of left, right hand sort of thing. And then at my point, I can do some Wolfpack type piano stuff. That's kind of...
I was going to follow on with some Wolfpack after some Snarky Puppy because the two go hand in hand. Hey?
Oh, yeah, sometimes, yeah.
How did you find learning the Wolfpack songs? Because they're known for their technicality, aren't they?
Not technicality. I think it's more of a groove thing.
Yeah.
So I generally have to learn, the Corey Wong type of parts. And I just did the song Corey Wong for Darren's Perth Flat.
Yes.
Which was fantastic. He mashed it up with like Uptown Funk.
Yes.
And things like that. And getting that guitar part right it's just got to be in the pocket. And I remember when I was playing it on stage, when he cued me in, I hit the first notes. I'm like, and it just felt right. It was in
Yeah.
that pocket. I was like, all right, I'm in it. And when you're in it, you just keep going. Everything's kind of a blur, but you just, you keep going at it, and it just feels fantastic, doing that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. And I think one of the reasons I started coming to Box Hill, right, was because I'd had, some karaoke moments. I'd had some sort of open mic moments, right? And when I was on stage and when I was in the pocket, and then if you get a little bit of applause afterwards, boy, there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
Yeah.
There's nowhere else I'd rather be.
The stage is pretty much, it's if I could choose one place to stay, for the rest of my life, it'd be the stage. It
Yeah.
just feels fantastic.
So have you started thinking about what you're going to do once you leave Box Hill? The dreaded question.
Look, I'm going to just see where it takes me. I've got a few gigs lined up. I've got the Flora thing going on
course,
at
yeah.
the moment.
Yep.
So we're doing the Bendigo Blues and Roots Festival next week.
Fantastic. Yep.
And that's going to be a lot of fun. And we're in the midst of recording an album right now. And I'm really, I'm optimistic about the project. So I want to see where that takes me. I've started jamming as well with Shannon, Connor. Shannon's been on the show, hasn't he? Shannon Hart.
Shannon has been on the show.
Yes.
Absolutely. I was trying to figure out which Shannon it was, but yes, yep,
Me
Shannon.
and him went to high school
Bit
together.
of Furious George, yep.
And so we're going to start jamming with Connor, Eli, and Ryan. And so hopefully that'll be
very
another
good.
sort of
Yep.
jazz project.
Oh, another jazz project.
Yep.
Yep.
But yeah, I want to do a lot of session work. I want to get good at my sight reading so I can start doing things like musicals and just general session work and things like that. I think that'd be a lot of fun, just because I find it's always really interesting when I'm just like handed a chart and I'm like, do this. I'm like, I've gotten a lot better at being able to like figure out what's going on. But I like just kind of getting handed songs and just jamming on it. I find that's a lot of fun. It's just really cool to just see where the music takes you, pretty much.
That sounds great. I mean, I can deal with a chart, but I as far as like things like sight reading and sight singing, oh God, if it's stepwise, I'm all right. But
Yeah.
as soon as you start getting like, jumps of a sixth or something like that, I'm like, oh yes, I'd like to actually hear this first. But
I think my thing is rhythm. Rhythm's been a big challenge for me
yeah,
because I've always been good with like harmonies and pitch and things like that. But like rhythm, I don't know. It was always a bit scary for me, but now I'm like getting better at it. And you can kind of, when I'm reading some of the rhythms, like, oh, that's that pattern. And then it kind of internalizes into your brain. And then you're able to just read it out a bit quicker, I've noticed, And now I'm like transcribing stuff that's in like 5/4. And I get back to that stage
really?
where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this is like, how do I read this, It's like it starts on like, after like 3 16th notes or whatever, and you have to land on this certain point.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. I remember for oral, we had to do a little bit of that. We were transcribing like odd time signatures that wouldn't start on the 1, and we're just like, this is cruel and unusual. So you've got Flora coming up. You've got your band with Shannon and Connor and Eli.
Yeah.
Any other projects you got?
That's it at the moment, because I feel like you do more than that, it gets really busy, especially if you're trying to study at the same time.
Well, exactly, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, we'll see where all that takes me, I'm glad I've got all these, great connections and all these great friends and, playing the music I love. It's fantastic.
It's one of the nice. It's a nice place to be in life, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because,
it is.
Because did you come to uni straight from high school?
Yes, I did.
Oh, cool. So you sort of go up in high school and you're like, oh wow, wouldn't it be nice to be a musician? And then all of a sudden, you get to a point where you're like, oh wait a second, like I'm not trying to be a musician anymore. I am being a musician.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's a super nice place to be.
Oh, yeah.
We'll wrap it up here.
No worries.
Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, mate. If people want to find you online and hear what you do, what's the best place to find you?
My Instagram, Ethan Ng Music.
Excellent.
That's probably the best place.
NG for Ng?
Yes.
Yep, excellent. Cool. All right. Thank you very much for coming. Have a good one.
Cheers.